Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and I'm going to take you for a tour through the northern Michigan garden today. We are in a zone 5B, I would say pretty solid 5B up here. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at the plants that we have planted. We also, when we plant, we kind of have to keep deer in mind. Sometimes we plant intentionally for deer resistance, and other times we just plant because we like it. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how the plants are faring up here. Starting off here on the side of the driveway, we've lined this garden bed with white sun patiens, and so far they're doing great. The deer have not touched them. We have some beautiful clematis blooming right now. The one you're seeing here, that's the beautiful magenta with the white starry eye. That is the Viva Polonia clematis. I just love the colors of that, and I like that it's got that little white star in the center, and it's done great here. It's in a part sun, part shade location. This trellis here, we've got one starting. This is the Clematis Stillwaters. Beautiful light purple color. And I love the little magenta centers there on the flower. So that's the first bloom that we have here off of that one. But really a beautiful clematis. The yellow plants that you're seeing are the yellow flowers. That is Rebecca Little Gold Star. And that's done pretty good. Not seeing any evidence of deer on that thus far. The little purple flowers, that is Nepeta Cat's Pajamas. That will be a beautiful mass of purple once it starts blooming. I had talked earlier about the hellebore, the Lenten rose, that the deer had eaten those buggers down. You can see that the plants have recovered, put on more foliage, and it seems to be that the deer, at least this one here, they are leaving it alone. Hellebore are a deer-resistant plant, so I was really shocked this winter, when they had eaten the plant down to nothing. This garden focuses a little bit of that red, white, and blue theme. So we've got the Artist Blue, Argyratum back there, a white sun patiens, red sun patiens, and then planted behind that little water can there, we have a few Agastache. I think those are Rosy Posy. So we'll see. So far they're looking good, and they should, because those are typically a deer-resistant plant. The beautiful splash of yellow you're seeing, that is the Aurelia Sun King. That is a great plant for shade gardens or part shade gardens. If you want to add a little different color and texture into your hosta beds, that is a great plant to just give you that beautiful bright splash of color. Got some ornamental grass there, Pennisetum variety. Here we have Pennisetum rubrum, which is an annual grass, and that's just kind of put there just to add a little bit of motion and color to this garden bed. We also have some salvia, so we kind of got the red, white, and blue going here again with the red sun patiens, purple salvia, and then the white sun patiens. A few plants I forgot were the Angelonia. These are Angelonia perfectly pink. So those will continue to get taller and be beautiful pink spikes of flowers. So all in all, this little section of the garden is looking pretty good, and really not seeing any deer damage going on in this area right now. As we head across, we have another garden bed here, and this one we kind of have a little symmetrical planting going on, sort of. So we'll get to the halfway point, and then the plants will kind of repeat back. We'll start off here on the edge. We have the Supertunia persimmon. It's kind of facing towards the sun right now. This is a new Supertunia or petunia for 2023. Beautiful, kind of a pinky corally color with a bright yellow center. We have some diamond, I think this is the Diamond Mountain or Diamond Frost euphorbia planted in. Beautiful wispy white, just to kind of do a little bit of a filler. And then Nemesia aromance mulberry. I just cannot talk enough about this plant. It has done fabulous in our trials last summer, and so far this year it is gorgeous. A beautiful mound of purple flowers, very fragrant, and yeah, this will go throughout the summer with a nice mass of purple blooms. Up in the front we did a border of the Lobularia Snow Princess. So that will continue to get bigger and fill out, creating kind of a massive sea of white. We have the Lemon Coral Sedum. So Rod kind of alternated both of them to kind of give a little bit of a border feel at that part of the garden. Continuing around, we have a few creeping phlox that are pretty much done flowering. There's a couple little pink blooms there. Behind it, he planted the Cleome Senorita Rosalita, and those are just starting to bloom. Those will get about 24 inches tall by the end of the summer, so creating kind of a nice back of the border, wispy, airy feel. We have the sun patient, I think it's called Tropical Rose, with a beautiful bicolor foliage, bright rosy pink blooms that will continue to get bigger and fuller as the summer goes on. In front of it, we have the Beacon Rose Impatient. So these really, we'll see what the deer do. Man, I'm kind of looking at them here a little bit closer. I don't know. I mean, it certainly looks like it could be deer damage, but I'm not yet convinced. It probably is, but I'm not sure how big they were when Rod planted them, so it might still be good. We have a little candy corn spirea here just starting. Great foliage, so this is going to be a nice foliage plant that does get flowers throughout the summer. This was planted from, I think this one was just planted recently, so that's why it doesn't have a lot of size quite yet. Behind it, we planted a hydrangea. This is, I think it's Little Lime Punch. Yep, Little Lime Punch hydrangea. So that is going to get probably about 5 foot tall or so. So we're kind of using that as kind of the anchor plant in this bed, in addition to some of these huge ornamental grasses that were here previously. We've got the Surefire Begonia, Cherry Cordial, beautiful black glossy foliage, bright red blooms. That plant was a major standout in last year's trials. This is a new plant for 2023. If you haven't had a chance to try it out this year, put it on your list for next year. We have the Perfect Perfusion Salvia, just starting to bloom. There's another picture of that Cherry Cordial Begonia. Really a beautiful, the foliage just pops, the flowers pop. Everything about that plant I think is just gorgeous, especially that glossy, shiny foliage. There's a few irises that were planted in this bed before we got it, so we left those because those are nice early spring color. You can see Rod tucked in a few lemon coral sedum there by the rock. Making our way here, we're going to get a lot of duplicate plants, but we'll point out the ones that are different. We have Pulmonaria. This is done flowering, but it's got beautiful splotchy foliage even when it's not in bloom. It's an early spring bloomer. Behind it, we have a tropical milkweed. This is an Asclepias, and this is for the monarch butterflies. So I'm hoping to get some monarch butterfly eggs and caterpillars on this plant. We have a lot of milkweed planted up here. Another kind of staple plant we did is the Invincible Garnetta. So this is going to be a beautiful pink blooming hydrangea and a little bit shorter than those Little Lime Punches, but just to kind of put some different varieties in because they'll be blooming at different times in the season. These begonias are looking pretty good, along with the Sun Patience. Another candy corn spirea there. You can see the beautiful grass. They just add so much motion into this garden. There's another Aromance mulberry, just looking so beautiful. Making our way around, you'll see we have more of the persimmon petunia, the Aromance mulberry with the Lobularia, Snow Princess, and Sedum lemon coral. There's a few poppies in here. They actually looks like it's just waiting to bloom yet, so we'll wait on that guy. This is all Coreopsis. So this was here in the garden when we got the place. Rod has pulled quite a bit of it out because you can see it's a pretty aggressive plant. It likes to spread, but it's beautiful when it blooms. It has really pretty yellow flowers on it, and it's deer resistant. So it's kind of one of those plants you leave because of the deer resistant factor. And when it does bloom, it's super showy. He could stand to go through and rip a little bit more out, but for now, we're gonna just leave it. The bright chartreuse you're seeing there, actually my shadow's in the way, there we go. The bright chartreuse you're seeing there is a coleus. That is the lime thyme coleus. Adds a beautiful bright splash of lime into the garden. There's a garden mum that came back. I'm surprised Rod left that. Usually he'll pull a mum out if it does come back, and we just plant them again in the fall. Another Aromance mulberry. More coreopsis, and you can see these are, I believe these are the Ravenna grass, the ones that get like 10 foot tall. So those are really nice in the fall. And they kind of create kind of a sound block barrier from the road over there. So they're kind of nice. There's a beautiful specimen of the Supertunia persimmon. Really pretty. Looks so nice with the sun shining on it. Here's another profusion, white profusion salvia. Purple profusion just starting to bloom. You can see there's a few columbine also that are at the end of their bloom cycle. Coreopsis again, another poppy, and then a few of the Nepeta's cat's pajamas. Let's go head on over to the next garden. This is an eastward facing garden, so it gets morning sun. And some of the items we have in this particular area, the bright chartreuse green that you're seeing, that's the Heclanacloa all gold grass. A great grass for part shade to full shade locations. Rod planted a bunch of Nepeta. That's the purple that you're seeing. Good deer resistant perennial. Those were just planted a week or so ago. Lining the front here, you're seeing some beautiful dianthus, some corabels. Tucked a hosta back in the corner there. That way hopefully the deer don't touch it. We'll see how that goes for us. Along with, again, some white sun patience that just really add a nice pop of color. We did plant a few of the alstroemeria here behind the rock. These are actually annual alstroemerias, so we'll see if they come back or not. Even if they don't, though, they bloom all summer long, so they've got really beautiful flowers for the duration of the summer. We have some veronica. It's not blooming quite yet. Actually, that's salvia. I believe it's white wands once it does start to bloom. We'll take a look here at a few of the crescent planters that we planted. If you remember seeing any of the container videos that we did, we'll kind of give you a little update here. So this here we have the a palm is kind of the center or thriller here in the combination. And then we use the new for 2024 petunias, along with new for 2024 super bells. We'll put those names up on the screen. I don't have tags to reference. And then this here sweet potato vine also is a new for 2024 variety. We did put a few of the Bossa Nova, I think this is Santa Cruz begonias in as well, just to kind of add a little dangling kind of feel to this planter. This planter here, we have the Super Bells Grape Punch. I love Grape Punch. It's kind of one of my go-to plants. Some Dichondra Silver Falls that will trail over. Here we have some Angelonia, along with the Calibrachoa Prism Pink Lemonade. We've got some of the beautiful big leaf vine hanging over there. Super Bells Cherry Red. And then again, a little bit more of the Super Bells Grape Punch and just Super Bells Yellow in the back. So I think that really makes a nice pop there of color in this planter. Here's a bunch of plants Rod's got to get planted this weekend. So we did a deer resistant video earlier featuring most of these plants, talking about the varieties that we're going to be planting up here because we do have some deer pressure. Heading here closer to the house, a couple weeks ago he planted a bunch of lavender. I don't know if you can see it or not, but right along the back there of the house is just a ton of lavender. So we'll see how that does. Oh, we've got, what else do we have in this space here? Rhododendron. We had to put netting around that last winter because the deer were eating at it. So unfortunately, we did not get any blooms on it this year. But now we know for next year the netting has to go on much sooner before those deer start browsing. We've got Shasta Daisy that will be blooming shortly, just full of nice buds. There we have some salvia that is kind of towards the end of its bloom. So we'll go ahead and get that trimmed back as soon as those flowers disappear. It is such a bird chirpy kind of night. I just love listening to this. So in addition to flowers and flower gardens, I'm kind of a bird nerd as of lately. My kids say I'm getting old, but I have an app on my phone that tells me like what birds are chirping. So I don't know, it's kind of fun. I'll embrace my kids thinking I'm getting old. Here's another planter. This one here mimics the one on the other side of this deck, and it's looking pretty good. We've got a few of the lemon coral sedum, a lot of the Wedgwood blue angelonia, some dianthus, paint the town fancy. Those are so pretty. I love the dianthus, and we planted a ton of this up at the garden at my house as well, so that will be blooming for like next year, but excited to see what that does. Some of the things you're seeing here in this space, again, more lemon coral sedum lining the bed. We have the bleeding heart pink diamonds, and this is a great plant because this blooms all summer long in the sun or in part shade locations. At first when I saw this pink diamonds blooming in a full sun spot, I thought, what in the world? That thing is in the wrong area. But man, this is a gorgeous, long blooming, sun loving bleeding heart. Got a nice little Heucherella there. I'm not even sure what the name of that one is. Let's take a closer look, see if there's a name tag. Oh, yes. That's what I was wondering. Fun and Games I Spy. Gorgeous color there. I love how it pops in this garden space. That is a hydrangea firelight tidbit, so I'm excited to see how that does this year. It's been so young. I think we planted it 2 years ago, and finally it's got a little bit of size to it, so that should be cool looking. Here's a grouping of Monarda, not blooming yet, but look at all the buds. We've got some Jacob's Ladder there. That's done blooming. That's the Heaven Scent. Some more bleeding heart. Lupin, a yellow lupin. This little patch here, it's just kind of a little, I don't know, random little spot. So I asked Rod if we could just load it up with coneflower because I wanted to have kind of a mass planting of coneflower. So he did that for me, and it's coming back really nice. He did poke a few of the dianthus in there though, just to give it some color while the coneflowers aren't blooming yet. This is something I like to see though, is little seedlings. That means that even more coneflowers will be blooming in here. And the colors that are planted, there's probably, I think there's about 5 different colors in here. So once they start flowering, it's going to be a whole beautiful array of color. We have a chicken wire here on this wall with some clematis, except for we haven't done a very good job of training it. It's kind of laying on the ground there. So maybe this weekend, him or I, more likely him, he will get this train back up and get this wall covered. It does look like there's one there that's kind of brown and drying out. I'm not too worried about that. We'll just trim it back and usually we'll get another flush of green and it'll be flowering again. Along the edge here, this is kind of a shady-ish spot. There's not a lot blooming right now, but we do have some Heliopsis in here. Oh, you see the little chipmunk against the wall? Ugh, they are such a pain. There's so many of them around here and they dig holes everywhere. But this is a Heliopsis, Tuscan Sun or Tuscan Gold. Looks pretty when it's blooming yellow up against that blue edging. Also in there is some allium. So that will be purple flowers that are blooming once they're ready to. Making our way down, we have some phlox. This is the opening act phlox, which is a earlier blooming phlox than like your like your normal tall phlox. You can see it's got a little bit of purple showing, so this should be blooming probably in the next few weeks or so. It's some pink dawn salvia. They are done flowering, but you can see these plants are a little bit more sparse in this area. And again, it's just because these are more sun-loving plants and they're not getting as much sun. So let's continue to take a walk and check out other areas of the garden. We're going to head to the garden that is off here to my right and take a look at a few of the things that are going on in here. So spirea are something we like to use in this space because they are deer resistant. Don't mind that mess. That's a work in progress. We have to figure out what we're going to do there. We want to build like a deck or a platform or something, but there's so many weird like slopes and angles. We're not sure how to get from the top to like the top of the retaining wall without, I don't know. It's a work in progress. So not everything is finished. So back to the spirea. Spirea, I believe these are the double play doozies. Great deer resistant shrubs, bloom, you know, in the summer. It's gonna have beautiful red flowers on it. The new growth is pretty cool looking too, that little kiss of red. We got the cordial cherry begonia. He's poked a few of those in right up against the wall, along with the lime thyme coleus. So they're kind of just showing between these bulbo hydrangeas. Other things in this garden, there's monarda, there is phlox, there's bugs everywhere. Also we have some, I think these are the garnetta hydrangeas. I'll know better once they're blooming. We did a sweep of coneflower in this area as well, so it kind of does like a wave look. All different colors. There's no repeating colors in here. So once those start blooming, that's going to be really pretty. We've got some persimmon petunias that he poked in just to give like some consistent always color, because you can see right now it's quite green in this garden space. So those super petunias really add a nice splash of color before these plants start blooming. We're going to take a look at the tag on this just so we can verify what it is. Well, it looks like it blew away. It's going to be a pretty pink one, that's for sure. There's also the Pugster Blue butterfly bush in here. We've got a few of those. I love butterfly bush. Let's see, this one probably has its tag. Oh yeah, that's right. This is Invincible Mini Mauvette. They're a little bit shorter, so that way the bobo will be in the background and the Mini Mauvette will be in front of them. So it'll give kind of a tiered up look. There's some more spirea. You can see they've got their buds ready to bloom. In the corner there, let me see if I can get into it. Sorry, there was a frog up here. It kind of caught me by surprise. Better than a mouse. In this corner here, there is some Asclepias or milkweed. More of the lime thyme coleus. Making my way through. The only thing worse would be if I found a snake. This here is a Rosa Sharon, or a, Rosa Sharon. This too is a deer resistant plant, shrub, so that's why we put it here. And as this grows, I'm hoping it will get big enough that if the deer do decide to come down that steep hill, this shrub will be big enough that they can't get into this flower garden. Because really, this is kind of their main way in if they wanted to come in. Down this steep hill here is a whole bunch of the feathered Friends ajuga. So there was probably about 8 different varieties that Rod planted last year, and you can see how beautifully this is filled in. The flowers, there's purple flowers on it. It's pretty much to the end of the flower time at this point, but look at that just beautiful splash of yellow. And we planted that there to hold the bank because that's a pretty severe drop there. We were shocked this winter to know that the deer actually used this as a pathway down to the lake. And if you watched my videos from earlier, the deer were actually eating this ajuga, and this is not a plant deer normally would eat. So we were quite surprised. They obviously were quite hungry this winter. All right, make my way back through this jungle. So this garden was planted in 2020 for the most part, and obviously Rod adds to it every year. So 2020, so we're in its 3rd year, and it's definitely filling out quite nice. So that's always good to see. You know, at the beginning it felt like it was quite sparse, but now it's really filling in and looking pretty good. All right, we're going to head on over to the other side of the drive and take a look what's over there. Before we head actually to the other side of the drive, I kind of forgot one key important plant that is in this bed, and that is the white sun patiens that are lining the base here. So we chose sun patience this year in white because we love how the white really glows in the night. Then you'll notice that big mass of pink underneath the window. That's all the Supertunia Vista jazzberry. So we kind of created a little window box, which is actually on the ground, but because of how it sits here in the garden, it looks like a window box. At the bottom down here, we have, this is kind of my butterfly garden here at the Northern Michigan garden. There's a lot of Asclepias or milkweed in here. There's parsley, dill, fennel. I'm trying to attract like monarchs for sure, but also the different swallowtail butterflies. There's Allium millennium in here. We have a rose bush, which we have to kind of watch so the deer don't eat it. Here's an actual beautiful milkweed right now. This is an annual milkweed. And hydrangea, look at the buds on that. That's going to be blooming shortly. We also have some more of the bleeding heart, Lobellaria violet night, Asclepias tuberosa, more tuberosa. I don't know if that's dill or fennel, but that's for the black swallowtails. A lot of tuberosa. Really being intentional to have things that are the host plants for those butterflies. Some more bleeding heart, a heuchera, pulmonaria, which is done blooming. And then there's a hosta. The hosta the deer have not touched. So that's why we do try to add a few hosta in and see once what they do, because they're really kind of a nice green filler in the garden. And if the deer will stay away, that's great. So far so good here. Fingers crossed how this goes. Oh, look who we found again. Our little chipmunk friend or foe. Okay, now I think we shall go across and check out the three-tier garden on the other side of the drive. It's such a peaceful night out here tonight. There's a light breeze. Like we see, we keep hearing those birds chirping in the background. It's just so relaxing and so peaceful. I don't know about you, but I like wind chimes. Are you a wind chime person or not? They're just so peaceful as long as they have the right tone. So in the bottom level here of this garden bed, we have some alstroemeria. These are alstroemeria annuals. And I think what I'll do is head to the other side and we'll work our way back. Okay, so here we go. So there's a hosta up there that's got a little bit of damage on it, and I'm not so sure if that's deer damage or it could just be bug damage. Some torchlight coleus is that dark foliage you're seeing. Rod's got some monarda planted in here. A couple lupins just starting to bloom. Some perennial geranium. And then under the flagpole, he went real heavy with red, white, and blue. So we've got the Paint the Town, I believe this is Paint the Town Red Dianthus. We've got the Artist Blue Argyratum. Red and white sun patience. A few purple salvia in the background there, kind of for the thriller. And it kind of repeats. And then over in here, there's a few sedum, and that sedum is sedum that was in this garden when we got it, so he just kind of left it in here. Perennial geranium. This is a different geranium than on the other side. You can see the pollinators are enjoying this. There's a few white angelonia there, which will give some nice upward height, along with some blush sun patience. Here is the Drops of Jupiter oregano. This is a plant we're going to have to watch because this one does like to go to town and make itself at home in the garden and get into the neighbor's area as well. So we'll have to try to keep this one under control so it doesn't spread throughout the whole garden. But the nice thing with this plant is it has great foliage and beautiful purple flowers. In the back is a sedum and a little ornamental grass. I'm going to climb my way up and in. You can see how the drive has been lined with the Nemesia, mulberry, or Aromance mulberry. Those are doing pretty nice. Rod did go and plant a bunch of the Paint the Town Dianthus for the border because they're such a great border plant. Nice splash of color. All right, now that we're up to the next level, we have some daylilies, pretty small yet. A few phlox that are small. Here we have, which one is this? Azuri snow. This is a salvia. Again, nice pollinator plant. Some more daylilies and lupin back there. The next level up, we have a bunch of lavender, monarda, and there's monarda on the other side of the lavender as well. Some more daylilies. This is the Lake of Fire. So we'll show you that once it starts blooming. In the midsection there, we have some anemone, which will be fall color. Along the wall are some tall phlox. I believe those are the ultraviolet. And then as we head up to the next level, I'll get up there in a second, but you can see how he planted a huge big border of more of those painted town dianthus. So let's go up and take a look at what's up there as well. So that beautiful border of painted town dianthus is going to be, these were just planted, so next year it's going to be a mass of beautiful magenta red blooms. And then throughout the summer, when it does its rebloom, this is kind of the extent of the rebloom. So I mean, it's still blooming, it looks nice, but that first round you don't even see the foliage. It's just such a mass of color. We have the Let's Dance can hydrangeas, and then in the back we have the Little Lime Punch, so that will be fall color. We also have a few ornamental grasses in here just to kind of give some tall spiky backdrop. We've got Back to the Fuchsia salvia, which is really pretty right now. And then he also did a few of the bleeding heart in the background. That's for the early spring color. So really excited. This was just planted this past year, so excited to watch how this fills out for this summer. I think so far it's off to a pretty good start, so it'll be pretty to see how it goes as the summer goes on. We'll leave you tonight with the beautiful colors of red, white, and blue. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If you're new to our station, we welcome you to subscribe on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.